Paul mentions this over in 2 Timothy chapter 1. Let's read that, verse 3 through 7. He says to Timothy, I thank God whom I serve as my forefathers did with a clear conscience. As night and day I constantly remember you in my prayers. Recalling your tears, I long to see you so that I may be filled with joy. I have been reminded of your sincere faith, which first lived in your grandmother Lois and in your mother Eunice, and I am persuaded now lives in you also. For this reason I remind you to fan into flame the gift of God, which is in you through the laying on of my hands. And then in verse 7 he says this, for God did not give us a spirit of timidity or fear. God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, of love, and of what? Self-discipline. Another translation says self-control. Another one says sound mind. But it is the ability to discipline yourself. It is the ability to control yourself. It is the ability to be in control of you. A quote by an anonymous source says, self-discipline is the yoke of a free person. Self-discipline is the yoke of a free person. When you're enslaved by someone, you may not be able to discipline yourself. Because as the slave, you're required to do and mandated to do what the master tells you to do. So the ability to discipline yourself is taken out of a slave's hand, taken out of their control, and they just do what they're told. Well, God has set us free through Jesus Christ. And where the Spirit of God lives, there is freedom. But God don't want us to take our freedom and not use it wisely. He doesn't want us to take our freedom and live like foolish people. God wants us to take this liberty that we have gained through our relationship with Christ Jesus and discipline ourselves in such a way that we take every opportunity to live for Him. We take every opportunity, every time period throughout the course of our day, using that time wisely. Wisely. Now, Solomon talks about there's a time and a season for everything. And indeed, there's a time for entertainment. There is a time for relaxation. There is a time to get away and vacation. There's a time. There's a time to go to work. There's a time to go to church. There's a time to pray. There's a time to have fun. In exercising self-discipline, you just have to know what time it is. What time is it? For young people, when you're at school, for those hours, whatever it is, 8 to 3, 8:30 to 3, or whatever it may be, that's not the time to play games. Although you may go to PE for an hour or so, that's the time to do PE, but when you're in the classroom, that's not the time to play games. That's the time to learn. That's the time to apply yourself to studying. That is the time to apply yourself to listening to your teacher. If you don't do that, you're missing out. Because the teacher have his degree or her degree, but if you're in the classroom and you're not paying attention, you're doing other things other than studying and hearing and listening to the teacher, then you're wasting that time. I tend to throw stuff in like that because it saddens me in working with young people. And it baffles me to realize that right here in our city, our kids can get to the 11th and 12th grade and not know their multiplication tables. It baffles me that they can get to 11th, 12th grade and not know how to put a sentence together. And they go to school every day. Now, I'm working with the school system. I'm working with some organizations that's working with the school system. We're trying to pull this thing together. And I know it takes parents and it takes students, but parents, that doesn't make sense if your son or daughter is going to school every day and they can't do their multiplication tables. Basic things. And we need to do better. Our youth need to discipline themselves better. Our parents need to discipline themselves better. We all need to do better in that particular area. Our country has slipped way behind other nations when it comes to educating our children. We are far behind. But I don't want to hang out there. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1, Solomon talks about there's a time for everything. There's a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. A time for everything. He goes on to say, a time to be born and a time to die. Let's read it together. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. That's murder, not killing, murder. A time to tear, that's killing like in war. That's not murder, okay? A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain. A time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war and a time for peace. Is that it? Yes. All right. So there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. Let's think about seasons for a minute. There are seasons of opportunity in our lives. Now, there are certain seasons that are fixed. They're simply fixed. When it comes to maturing, growing older, there are certain seasons that are fixed. Like our teenagers that are in here right now, whether they're 13, 14, 15, 16, or 17, all of them within 5 to 7 years will be adults. They will enter a new season of life. They will be in adulthood, and nothing they do can stop that from happening. Because as the earth turns, they will get older and they will grow into adulthood. Now, whether they will be prepared for adulthood is another question. They may be 20-something but still acting 13, but they're going to be 20. And nothing can stop that season of life for them. And for the 20-somethings and the 30-somethings, before you know it, you're going to be middle-aged. Where your hair will either turn gray or drop out. And there ain't nothing you can do about it. It's just a season that's going to happen in your life. You may hate it, but it doesn't matter. It's going to happen. You're going to reach middle age. And you're going to find yourself having some middle age crises. And different things happening to your body. Slowing down, physically and mentally. Forgetting a thing or two. Like being on the cell phone and wondering, where my phone at? Doggone, where I left, where I put that thing? Woo! I know I ain't the only one that did that. And then if you keep on living, you're going to reach those senior years where your bones begin to crack and pop when you stand up from sitting down for a long time. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I develop a little crook and a little pop. It's going to happen, y'all. So there are certain seasons that are going to happen in your life no matter what. Sometimes we refer to them as the summer seasons of your life when you're you're young. The spring, and then summer, you're a teenager, and, you work into those middle years, and that's your fall, and then you work into those senior years, that's your winter. And then one day you're going to die. That's just the way it is. You're going to die. You're going to leave here. You are going to leave here. And that is a season. Now, what that means, when that season happens, that means if you're a child of God, you're going into bright new season, springtime. And it's always springtime. But those are the seasons, some of the things that will happen no matter what you try to do, it's going to happen. So let me ask the teenagers, knowing that in 5 to 7 years you will be an adult, what are you doing now in preparation for that season? Young people, what are you thinking about now? And what are you doing now in preparation for that season of adulthood that you will enter into in 5 to 7 years? See, right now is preparation time. School time is preparing you for adulthood. Being obedient to your parents is preparing you for adulthood. It's preparing you to go out there on a job and be obedient to your boss. If you can't be obedient to your parents, chances are when you reach adulthood, you're not going to obey your boss and they're going to fire you. It won't be like mom and dad giving you second, third, fourth, and fifth chances. They'll open the door and let you go. And they don't care what kind of bills you got. And for the 20-somethings and the 30-somethings, what are you doing for the next season in your life? What are you planning? How are you thinking? Because that season is going to come. For the middle agers, what are you doing? What are you planning for the next season and the seasons beyond that? How are you thinking? Where's your mind? And for the seniors, likewise, what are you thinking about the next season in your life? And for every one of us, no matter where we're at, whether we're teenagers, young adults, middle-aged, senior adults, parents, children, it doesn't matter. Those seasons are going to come, and it's wise to think about them now and make plans for them so that when they do come, you got your life together and you can stay in the will of God. And for the parents, those children, even though they may be young infants right now, they're only with you for a short period of time. So ask yourself, what are you doing? How are you investing in their lives? And what are you doing to blossom them so that they can enter into adulthood whole and ready for the challenges of adulthood? And I will say this. Many of our children are dealing with issues in adulthood because they were not prepared by their parents earlier on. You just can't give them everything they want because the world don't operate that way. If they get accustomed to getting everything that they want, when they get in the real world and that doesn't happen that way, it can cause them to go into a tailspin that causes them to miss out on God's blessings for their life and possibly even shorten their lives. We have to equip them. And we only have a short period of time to do that. In Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6, Solomon says this. Says, go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. If you are a sluggard, a lazy person, and I'm hoping no one in here is like that, but he is saying you can look at the ant, you can examine the ant, you can use the ant as an example. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander. It has no overseer. It has no ruler. Yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest. Those ants are something else. They are something else. If you lay down too long in the summer, they'll take you apart. There'll be a line leading from you to that little hill. I mean, they don't play. I mean, they are diligent. They are diligent. Sometimes I watch that on the Discovery Channel. They are diligent. You can see them crossing over water by building a bridge using their bodies so that some will be in the bridge while the others walk on top of them to get to the other side. It's absolutely amazing. He goes on to say in verse 9, how long will you lie there, you sluggard, or you lazy person? When will you get up from your sleep? A little sleep. Oh, let me just sleep a little while. Let me just take a nap. He says a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a bandit, and scarcity like an armed man. Ooh. That's why we have to be on our game. That's why we have to stay focused and be very careful how we live. If we take too much time looking at things, entertaining our minds, we'll let a lot of time go by, valuable time that we could have used to do other things more significant. So we can look at the ant. We can look at the other animals. We can look at the squirrels. Those squirrels, they're out there during the summer, during the period of time where those nuts and things on the ground, they're storing up. I mean, you can see them with the mouth just full. And they're storing up for the winter. They're storing up for the time when those nuts are no longer on the ground. They're taking one season, being diligent in this particular season, with the understanding that in this next season, it's not going to be the same way. So I got to do something in this season right here in preparation for this season. And if the animal can do that, and we're much more intelligent than the animals, aren't we? Why can't we do that? A little sleep, a little slumber, like a folding of the hands to rest, a little folding of the hand, and poverty will come on you like a bandit, and scarcity like an armed man. Now, in order to manage our time, in order to live very carefully like this, we have to have a vision for our lives, and a vision is very important. Having a vision. We need to have a vision. You heard the statement, where there is no vision, the people perish. That's one of Solomon's statements too. We find that over in Proverbs 29, verse 18, where it says, where there is no revelation, in the NIV, the people cast off restraint, but blessed is he who keeps the law. In the King James, it says, where there is no vision. Vision, revelation, same word. From the same Hebrew word. Where there is no vision, the people perish. But he that keepeth the law, happy is he. Now that word vision is from the Hebrew shazon, and it means mental sight or mental picture. It is related to the word shazar, which means to gaze at, perceive mentally, to contemplate with pleasure, and to provide. That's that vision. It's not the word, it's not the meaning of the word vision that we understand when it comes to prophets of old days that would see things and God would show things to them. That's not what Solomon is talking about in this particular passage. Although that's vision too. God can give you revelation directly from heaven. Okay, that's not what he's talking about right here. Right here, he's talking about something else. He is talking about your ability to plan. Okay, it means the provisions of plans and ideas pictured in your mind. Plans and ideas picture in your mind to give you proper direction and to keep you from falling or perishing. Pictures and ideas in your mind. The little squirrel in the season when the nut's on the ground, he's got a mental picture of when there will be another season when they are not on the ground. So because of that mental picture, in this particular season, I've got to do something in preparation for the next one. So I stir up my little food now because I know I got a mental picture of the next season. Wherever you're at in your life, whatever season you're in, you need a vision for now and the next season and the seasons beyond. So you can start using your time more wisely and using your resources more effectively in this season that you're in right now. Whether you're a teenager, whether you're a 20-something, 30-something, middle-ager, senior, you need to be doing something in this season because of the mental picture about next season.